All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Atp Live Monday. Uh, okay, I think my light is back. Welcome, everyone. Whichever platform you're joining us from, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Welcome to ATP Live Monday, and I'm just going to share the video link so that everybody can see us and they can hear us. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Gbemisola Boyede, and I'm your anchor for this evening. ATP Life is brought to you by Atp Paediatrician Foundation. We are committed to the health and welfare of all children globally, but most especially in sub-Saharan Africa and in Nigeria, where a lot of our children are still dying from preventable conditions. So thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to drop your questions under the video you're watching from. If you're watching on Instagram, you can just drop it directly under the Instagram. If you're watching on Facebook, you can as well also just drop it on our Facebook page. Okay, so I'm just going to give me a couple of minutes so that I can share the video to all our groups on Facebook, and then people can see us and they can. Yeah, good evening, Ifama, number one today. You've been so consistent. Okay, thank you so much for joining. Okay, I'm just trying to share the video. I don't know why it's taking forever from my Facebook. Okay, let me use the Facebook on the group. Okay. Uh, how has your day been? And I hope you are all getting ready. It's almost the end of the year. So I can imagine how it has been. I hope you've had a lovely year. No matter what, there's still enough days in the year. So hopefully you will all have a wonderful year. So just okay. All right. So let me just share. I don't know why my Facebook the one on my oh no, it has gone to this ATP Live Monday. It's always doing this sometimes, and I don't like it doing that. I wanted to go to ATP Live. I don't want to be live in ATP Live Monday. I want to be live on our group proper. Okay. Anyway, but let's see. I'll still try and share the video. Okay. Okay. Let me just see. I want to share the video properly so that it's always going to. Okay, I think my Facebook is updating, so it's not allowing me to share. Oh, no. It's interesting. Okay, all right. We'll just do what we can do. Let me go back to Gbemisola and then try and share. Okay. Okay. So we may need to. Uh. Okay. Let me just share. Okay. Just a minute. So I'm just trying to share. Oh no, the one on my phone is just not working. Okay. Anyway, we'll just do what we can do. All right. Okay. I hope people can see it. It's always challenging when it is posting in the others end and not in the page proper, because then we can't pin it up. All right. Anyway, good evening. Welcome everyone. And thank you so much for joining me on Facebook, on Instagram. This program is brought to you by Atp Pediatrician's Foundation. If you have any question about the health of your children, feel free to ask, and then we'll be able to answer them over the next 1 hour. However, if you still have any question about the health of your children after the live session is over, you can always post to our Facebook group. We are always there Mondays to Saturday. All right. So, thank you so much. I can see a few questions already. Ifama, I think you have a lot of questions today, but I just want to see whether anybody is asking any question on Instagram. If you have questions, feel free to ask. All right. Let's just go to Ifama's question. See, my baby fell off from the bed on Friday or while in father's care. Oh, so sorry about that. So I quickly rushed to her, consoled her. She stopped crying. Okay, she was fine. Saturday, Sunday, and but in the midnight Sunday she started having fever. Very unlikely that fever is from the fall on Friday. Really, very, very unlikely. Um, since then till now, she's not had any temperature. Okay, which is quite good. She also has cough and running nose. Okay. If the fever doesn't come back, do I still need to go to the hospital? Because I read in the group that okay, your post was kind of cut off. It was so long. Anyway, if this child is not having any fever, you don't need to go to the hospital. If the child is otherwise well, eating, not vomiting, nothing else, the child is otherwise okay, then there's no need for you to worry, and there's no need for you to go to the hospital. There are signs. So number one, we want to make sure children should not be falling. Is it your 7 months old? You didn't tell us the age of the child, but I guess it's the youngest, maybe the 7 month old. I'm not sure whether I remember the age correctly. But we should try and avoid situation where babies are falling. But when children fall, the most important thing is to check that they are not having signs of head injury, So, and what are those signs of head injury? Things like the child loss of consciousness. And it may not even be completely loss of consciousness. That it's not as if the child has fainted or anything, but the child will just be change. There'll be the child's behavior may change, the child may be drowsy and all those kind of stuff. So if you notice anything like that, then you have to take the child to hospital. If the child is sleeping too excessively or things like that, you have to take the child to the hospital. If the child is having like vomiting and all that, then yes, that will be signs of head injury, so you may have to take the child to the hospital. If the child, is bleeding from the nose or from the ears, yes, we want to take the child to the hospital. If the child is having what look like plain water coming out from the nose, from the hairs, that may suggest the child had fracture of the skull, and that plain fluid may be what we call cerebrospinal fluid, the water that surrounds the brain. So you have to take the child to the hospital. But if the child is otherwise doing normal, nothing else, I will not worry. Fever particularly is not like a sign of any head injury. Your child may have had the fever even whether the child fell or not, so it may have nothing to do with the child falling. So, but if the child has ongoing fever or any other health issues and you want to go to the hospital for that, definitely you are welcome to do that. But I don't think this fall is the cause of the fever. Okay, I hope that is okay. Like you asked about what is the dosage of paracetamol should give. You should only give paracetamol if your child is having fever. Don't just give paracetamol if there is no fever in particular. Because you already told us the child is no longer having fever, so there's no need to give paracetamol now. Okay, so the dosage of paracetamol is usually 50 milligrams per kilo. So for this particular child, 9 kilos, 6 months. 5 minutes of paracetamol is still okay. I mean, it's still fine. So I won't worry about that. So it's okay for you to give 5 minutes of paracetamol. You can repeat paracetamol doses every 6 hours if the fever is ongoing. If the fever is very high, like up to 39, you have to take the child to the hospital as well. So I don't think you need to worry so much about the child. Okay, I hope that is helpful. All right. Hope Omiche say good evening, ma. Well done for everything. My baby is only breastfeeding, but I have to force this child to suck. How old is the child? Okay, 5 months. Is the baby 5 months old now? It will not suck, only suck when sleeping. That is very unusual, for a baby not to want to suck. But I think sometimes parents also want the child to be sucking all the time. So you have to also be mindful that the frequency of sucking may not be as when the child was still a baby, because as children get older and bigger, they are more efficient at sucking. So compared to the newborn baby, so the fact that your baby when he was a newborn was almost sucking every 1 hour, 2 hours, does not mean when they're about 3, 4, 5 months they will still be sucking like that. And so that is number one. So the most important thing is that the child is gaining weight appropriately. And if your baby is at 5 months is weighing 6.7 for a baby that was 2.5 at birth, I'm definitely not going to worry about that child. That means the baby is sucking enough. It may not be as much as you think baby should be sucking, but the baby is sucking enough because the child is gaining weight. The most important evidence that a child is getting enough weight is by that the baby is getting enough breast milk is by their weight gain. Um it is not a matter of how many hours they stayed on the breast or how long or how often you are breastfeeding them. So children know how to take enough breast milk. So if the child is gaining weight and the weight is age appropriate for us, that is enough. That means that child is gaining enough weight. So there's really no reason for you to worry. So just keep breastfeeding your baby. And when your baby is 6 months old, then you can start complementary feeding. So, but from what you've written here, I'm quite happy with your child's weight, and I think the weight is completely age appropriate. So that means baby is getting enough breast milk. So don't worry at all about it. Okay. Okay, I think that is the question on Facebook. I need to go to Instagram. I'm not sure I've seen any question on Instagram, but maybe if I missed your question on Instagram, please feel free to ask again and then I will try and answer them. I'm just trying to share the link to other platforms, okay, because I think this video went to the to the live, not the not the it went to the ATP Live Monday, like the event page, and not on the Facebook page. So that's why it is causing issue. So, but I'll try and do it now. Okay, that's fine. All right. I got a question from Ojo Nicole. Blessings, Sule. Okay, say thank you for the good works. Okay. My baby is 1 year, 7 months old. I want to stop breastfeeding her next month. Okay, please, how do I stop her without any stress? Okay, number one, we cannot guarantee you there will be no stress. Okay, but it's a matter of planning. So there are tips for weaning the children half breast milk, and we've actually written an article on that. I will strongly recommend that you go through our website and go for the article simple uh is it simple winning or simple steps to winning? You know what, I've forgotten the name of the I've forgotten, but you can go to our Facebook and read about winning. And what we normally recommend that you do it gradually, so you don't just stop completely all the breastfeeding. The first thing you need to do is, if you are breastfeeding every time, you may decide for stop breastfeeding in the morning time and only breastfeed maybe afternoon and evening, maybe for 1 week or two. Then you go down to only breastfeeding at night only, and all that. Then when you're ready, so, and make sure your child is already obviously established on every other food, so the child is not just on breast milk. When the child is eating everything else, so the breast milk is just what we call token. So you cover take up the morning, then afternoon, and then you can now take up the night one. That day may be a crisis day. Some people sometimes take the children maybe to the grandma or whatever, but most of them, that that the child will likely cry 1 or 2 days, but most of them they'll be fine after that, as long as so you just stop the breastfeeding, and that is the what you need to do. So once you do that, then you should stop. For yourself, you may need to wear firm bras. You may need to make sure that um you take painkillers, because sometimes you may feel pain as well, so you may want to take painkillers. And then you also sometimes the breast is too heavy. You can press that a little bit, but not so much like you're expressing, so that it doesn't become too challenging for you as well. So those are the things you can do, and then your baby should be fine. Yeah, so you want her to eat more from next month. You should not be stopping breastfeeding because you want your baby to eat more. Your baby should already be eating well before you stop breastfeeding. Okay, so they are not the same thing. Okay, so a child who is not eating well, it's best you don't stop breastfeeding, because that means that child is not even well established. You only stop breastfeeding when the child is now well established on breast milk. So that is the time you're supposed to do that. Otherwise, you're going to run into trouble with that child, because the child will now start to lose weight and all that. But if the child is already well established, then you can now that is when you can now stop the breastfeeding, follow all the tips that we've talked about. But if your child is not yet established, it may not be good for you to stop breastfeeding until the child is well established, eating everything. So you may also want to go on complementary feeding, making sure you introduce your child well to other food and all that, and the child is eating well, and then you can now stop the breastfeeding. So we actually encourage you to breastfeed for up to 2 years if you can. So, but if you can't, that's also fine. But that is our recommendation. If you can do that. So I hope that's helpful for you. We don't want you to forcing her to eat. I think that's what you're trying to write. Don't force the child to eat at all. Always encourage them to eat. We have a lot of tips on complementary feeding and how to go about complementary feeding. So you may want to all go through all that first, and then we can now talk about winning the child. So I hope that's helpful. All right. Okay. Yes, we've answered that. There's a question on Instagram by Loretta Mole. Okay. It said, "Thank you for all you do for us. We don't take you for granted. May God continue to bless you and grant you and your team the grace you need always." Oh, thank you so much, Loretta. That is that is a prayer, not a question, but we appreciate it. God bless you too. All right. So if you still have questions about the health of your children, feel free to ask your questions now, and then we will try and answer them. Okay, I think I didn't pin all the posts in the group, so let me do that first, and I'll come back. Okay. Yes, last week we talked about pneumonia. Okay, all right. So okay, Reformer is talking about breastfeeding and teething. Yeah, so sometimes when children are started to breastfeed, and they tend to have sometimes they may bite the mother and all that. It's not like they're being malicious. It's not like they want to hurt you. It's just one of those things that happen. So what you need to do is that if your child bites, you can just stop them. Just stop briefly, and you take the breast from their mouth, and when you finish doing that, and then you can now restart again. So the child doesn't need to bite on you. So let's make sure that when we attach the baby to the breast, the breast milk is in their is in they are not they are not sucking on the nipple, but they have most of the areola in their mouth, because they don't really need to suck on the nipple or bite on the nipple. They actually just need to to suck on the breast, so they don't need biting. But sometimes children, they because at that period when their teeth is also coming out, they are still they may just do it not because they want to bite to hurt you, but it's just something like a reflex thing for them. So we encourage you just take a break, pause, and then you can now restart gently after that. So it's just one of the things that happen when children are starting to teeth, and sometimes they have like this itchy gum. So sometimes you can give them teethers to bite on in between the breastfeeding. So don't use your breasts or your breast feeding as a teeter for them. So if they are not like hungry or want to eat, you can give them other things to bite on. Okay, so not that every little thing is breast milk, but of course you can breastfeed them as well. And if they bite, you stop, and then you continue. So I hope that is helpful. Okay. Let me go back to our Instagram. Okay, I don't think I have any question on Instagram. Instagram people are good. They don't have any questions. All right. Okay. Last week we talked about prematurity, and and we really dealt with it and talk about how to prevent prematurity and all that. And another thing I like to talk about, which is another thing we always talk about in the month of November, is also pneumonia. I think I alluded to it briefly as well, and try to correct some of the misconception we have about pneumonia, and especially the fact that people think it's cold, it's the weather. No, pneumonia is actually caused by germs, and germs, especially bacteria germs, is the cause of pneumonia. And pneumonia is still one of the killer diseases in children. And so, um, uh, the most important thing when it comes to pneumonia is coming to the hospital, because for pneumonia, especially the pneumonia due to bacterial infection, we need to treat it with antibiotics. And of course, we don't expect you as mothers to self-medicate with antibiotics. We want you to come to the hospital so that we can now treat the child. So if your child has fever, has cough and catarrh, no fever, they are otherwise okay. Most of those ones are due to upper respiratory infection. Most of them are due to viruses, and you don't really need to do anything about that. They are going to go on their own. But once the child start having fever with a cough, and once they start having fast breathing or difficulty with breathing, or they are grunting, then we suspect they may have pneumonia. And at that point, we always need to take the children to the hospital. I do get a lot of questions about children. So my child is having coughing, but having difficulty to breathe. And people are not taking it as seriously. And I'm like, that is an emergency. Once a child is having anything affecting their breathing, once they're having any form of difficulty with breathing, fast breathing, is an emergency. We want you to take that child to the hospital straight away. So let's be very, very alert to that. So if a child is coughing but not running nose, no fever, they're otherwise eating well, drinking well, everything is fine, you can just watch them. But once they start having fast breathing, difficulty with breathing, fever, you have to bring them to the hospital. All right. Hope is knowing. How will I know when my baby is cold? You can feel them. Usually when children are cold, their hands and their feet, they feel cold to your touch. If you just put your hands on them, it will be as if they are cold. So you can just wear them socks and mittens, or make sure they are wearing thicker or double layers of clothes. That is what you do when you think your children are cold. Usually those, some of these things are just, we just rely on yourself as mothers, sensibilities. You just, the way you are cold, the same way you feel when children are cold. And we're not talking about, because people use the word cold for when children are having cough and catarrh. A child could be having cough and catarrh and not be cold. Okay. And unfortunately, that word cold is a misnomer. We should not be using it. It doesn't necessarily mean somebody who is having cough and catarrh is cold. So, but if you feel their hands are cold to touch and their feet are cold, then yeah, that is how you know the child is cold. You can also use your thermometer, but most of the thermometers are not made to measure cold temperature. They are made to measure high temperature. The kind of thermometer you will be able to use as a mother is meant to measure high temperature, not low temperature. So hospital thermometers can do that. So you just keep the children warm. It's just breastfeed them. If they are older children above 6 months, you can give them warm fluids, warm food, wear socks and mittens, wear double layers of clothes for them, but don't overdo it. Like some people will overdo it and the children now start having fever as well, because sometimes some fever could be from our over wrapping and overdressing the child. So let's not go the other way around as well. Let's just do just the middle. So that is what we recommend for that. So I hope that is helpful. So, but once you think the child is having fever, you get your digital thermometer measure. A mother was asking a question during the week, and she showed us this thermometer that has a mercury inside, that has a line and all that. So that the analog kind of thermometer, we don't recommend those kind of thermometers for you as mothers. Okay, because you can't read it easily. Even for those of us that are medical people, you have to read, and there's what we call parallax error, if you remember all your signs and all that. So we don't want you, we don't want you stressing yourself buying those kind of thermometers. Those kind of thermometers are for the nurses and the hospital staff. So there are digital thermometers. So the thermometers that are digital. So once you put it in the child's armpits or under the tongue, it will leave it for like 2 minutes. It will beep when it has read, and then you can bring it out and you can actually just read the temperature straight away. You don't have to be looking for it. You will just read it. To write it 35, 36, whatever is written there, then you know that is the temperature for the child. So that is the one we recommend for you as a mother. And normal temperature is 36.5 to 37.5. That is a normal temperature. So if the temperature is 36.5, 37.5, that is normal. You don't need to do anything, because sometimes I also see a lot of people telling me, oh, my baby's temperature is 36, 37, and they will still be asking, oh, I think the baby is hot, can I give paracetamol? No, that is normal temperature. The child doesn't have fever, and you don't need to give paracetamol. You don't need to do anything. So you just leave the child alone. Okay, so that is for that. But if it is above, once it's going more than 37.5, or let's say from 38, 39, that is high temperature, and that is when you need to now give paracetamol. And the dose, we usually calculate it by the weight, but I know that it's also possible for some of us not to know the weight of our children, which is not unusual. So if you don't know the weight, just go by what is recommended. So most of the people that make those paracetamol, they would have written they would have told you what to give based on the age of the child. So they will say from 3 months to 6 months, give this quantity. From 5 months to maybe 1 year, give this quantity. So they will have given some guide as well. So it is fine if you want to do that. If you want to if you are not sure of the weight of your baby, if you're not sure quantity to give, you won't go too far wrong if you go by what the manufacturer recommended based on the age of your child. So it is also fine to give that. And then paracetamol can be repeated um, every 6 hours. So that is fine. So I hope that is helpful for those of us that do that. Okay, there's a question here, but I have a feeling people are posting their question in the wrong page. So blessings, Yama, I can see your question. You say good day, ma'am. Thanks for all you do. God bless you. I would like to know whether there is any vaccine like energy boosters. Some people came around and said they are from government hospital, that they would like to give my 6 months old energy booster. Energy booster, there is none as far as I know. We don't have energy booster vaccines, so I'm not aware of anything. For your 6 month old, there's nothing we are asking anybody to go around to give to a 6 month old. There's nothing like that. So I'm not quite sure which part of the country is that. Did they show you their ID cards showing, and did they tell you the name of whatever they want to give to your child? So number one, there are vaccines that we give at home. Oral polio, it's to protect against polio. Apart from that, then we also give children malaria, chemoprophylaxis. If you live in some parts of the country, especially in the northern part where malaria is seasonal, so sometimes people can come to the house and give your children what we call malaria prophylaxis. So that we also give, but we don't give anything called energy boosters. And I'm strongly suspecting these people are not professionals. Are they asking you to pay for something, so, but there is no energy booster vaccines. They just at least sort that one out, unless you are not quite sure what it is. But Even at 6 months, we don't have any vaccine at 6 months. The only thing we give at 6 months is vitamin A, or oral vitamin A. Maybe it's oral vitamin A. It is oil. It's like capsule. It's oil. Yeah, if it's vitamin A, yes, you can take vitamin A, but I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's what they're referring to as energy booster. But they should tell you the name. If it's vitamin A, they should just tell you it's vitamin A. So as parents, we should know. At least this is one of the reasons why female education is one of our child survival strategies. When we talk about things that ensure that children do not die but survive, uh, vitamin A is what I mean. Sorry, female education is one of them, because as a mother, we must be able to read, we must be able to know information. So, if anybody wants to give your child anything, you should know the name. Even if it's a vaccine, they should tell you the name. The vaccine's names are not so complex. It's oral polio, it's HPV, malaria vaccine. All the names are very straightforward names. So if they are not able to tell you the names, I would say don't take it. And if it is vitamin A, they should be able to tell you it's oral vitamin A. So blessing, I'm not quite sure who these people are, and I'm not quite sure um I know what they want to give to your child. So I would definitely be very, very wary, and I would definitely not want you to take what you are not sure of because we don't want um, you to get into any issue. But most of the time, the only thing we ask parents, the only thing we go home to give is oral polio. Maybe in some places we can give even measles vaccine, but we don't give that at 6 months. Then maybe we can give oral vitamin here, we can deworm. But most of the things, if we give, we will usually tell you the name of it. So I'm not quite sure you should take that particular thing that you are not sure of. Okay, I hope that is helpful. All right. Where are we? Okay, let me just check Instagram. Okay, no question on Instagram. Instagram. So if you are just joining us, you're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any question about the health of your children, feel free to ask. Please note that even after the live session, this live session is just 1 hour. You can still go ahead and ask your questions on our Facebook group. We have Ask the Paediatrician Facebook group, and you can post your question there Mondays to Saturdays. Only on Sunday you won't be able to post. We also have our ATP family for the adults, and ATP still a mom for those who may have suffered maybe miscarriage or loss of a child and they just want the emotional support and so on and so forth. Um, so feel free to always post your questions there, and we'll be there to be there for you. Of course, we know that towards the end of the year, we normally we shut down for the for the. I think we're shutting down this year on the 20. Let me say 20 something. That'll be the last Saturday of the month. Okay, so we will be shutting down around that time. So but we'll definitely let you know. And then, of course, we'll resume in January, maybe the first Monday or so in January, or the second one. So feel free to when we are off, you can always go to our Facebook group. You can always search for the answer to your question. It's very likely that somebody may have asked that question and we have answered them. So feel free to always use those resources. Also, you can read more about all these topics on our website. If you go to www.askthepediatricians.com, we've written articles on almost all these topics. So if you go to our YouTube channel, we've taken topics. Each of these issues that you're asking us, we've actually dealt with them in details, like extensive teaching on complementary feeding, on breastfeeding, on immunization, deworming. Talk about any topic in particular. We must have uh, done a detailed, maybe 1 hour teaching. so on them, so you can also listen to those videos if you really want to learn more about pneumonia, about diphtheria, about measles, about any of those topics. We have actually done a lot of teaching on them, and you can also go and learn, watch those videos and learn from them. And of course, you can still post your questions either under the preferably in our Facebook group, really, or in our website, and then we'll try our best to answer them as soon as we can. So I think that's okay. uh I guess I don't have any questions currently, so I'll just wait for a few more questions before my time runs out, and then we can close them. But let me just check Instagram people whether they have any questions. There's no question on Instagram today. I hope it's not that I'm not seeing the questions, so but but if you have any questions, feel free to ask your questions. I think unfortunately the link was posted on the ATP Live Monday instead of directly on the page. So some people's questions are being dropped under the in the page, not on the not for me to see in the studio here. But that's why I'm also checking my normal phone to see whether there's any questions that somebody dropped in the page, that so I can answer them as well. Okay, I have eight questions. No, I think I've answered all these ones already. Okay, so and as we're going to the holiday season, let me also remind us, I know many of us will be traveling and traveling to our villages to be with families, the grandparents. Very, very important and very lovely things to do. But please plan how you're going to take care of your children when you are not in your usual location. When we're in our usual location, we know the hospitals, we know what to do. But sometimes I found people go to the villages and we don't even have a plan. Like, what if there's an emergency, an health emergency? What am I going to do? Some of us don't even know where the nearest hospital to our village is. So let's make sure that we plan for this. Okay, let me answer Omiji's question and I'll come back to that. Omiji is saying, what does it mean for a baby to breathe as if there is catin in the throat? Okay, so sometimes I know what you're trying to ask. Basically, your child is breathing and there's some noise, so we call it noisy breathing. There are different kind of noisy breathing. So normally when we're all breathing, as I'm talking to you now, I'm breathing, but you are not even aware, because the same thing with yourself. It is noiseless, it is effortless. You don't even feel anything. That is how breathing should be. So even for our children, when they are breathing, you should not hear it. You should barely see anything. It should just be something that is going on without you being aware of it. But once you can start hearing your child breathing, that means it is a little bit noisy, or sometimes, like you say, it will be as if there is some mucus or some phlegm, and you can hear the hair going through them and all that. So we call those noisy breathing. Sometimes, especially for the baby, sometimes there's actually nothing wrong. The airway in small babies are not very firm or solid like with the one we have in adults. So sometimes when hair is going through the airway, it can make the airway to because the airway is very soft and what we call flexible. it will move back and forth, and so you can hear some noise, but the child is otherwise not having any difficulty with breathing. The child is otherwise well, the child is sucking, the child is happy, everything. So that is one form. But sometimes it could also be a sign of the fact that there is some difficulty with breathing for that child. And some of those kind of children, they may have maybe chest infection. It could be, depending on where the infection is, it could be upper airway. There's a different kind of sound when we hear it from the upper airway, and there's a different kind of sound if the infection is in the lower airway. So upper airway is in your nose and what we call the trachea, while the lower airway is down in the lungs. So depending on where the infection is or obstruction is, you can hear different kind of sound. The kind of sound we hear from the lower airway tend to be what we call wheezing sound, whereas upper airway tends to be a bit quaz, a little bit more harsh, noisy sound, like snoring kind of sound, that kind of a thing that we hear. So if the child is having a typical approach, ideally should be to see a doctor to know which one is which. But I know you can't always come to the hospital every second your child has some noise in their breathing, because some of them could just be normal. But what I'll say, that if your child is comfortable, the child is well, the child is happy, the child is sleeping fine, even though you can hear a little bit of those noise, but the child is very comfortable, not breathing fast, not struggling to breathe, not uncomfortable, I would just say most of the time, most of those noise will just be normal kind of noise, that there's really nothing. Maybe the hair will just need to be cleared or something like that, and which the child would do on their own. But if the child is also breathing fast or struggling to breathe, the child is usually miserable. When a child is having respiratory distress or comfort, they're actually very uncomfortable. They're actually very miserable. They are not usually happy. They may not want to eat. They may, you just know that there's not something wrong here, and you are hearing those noise. Then those are the time you need to come to the hospital. But if you are not sure which one is which, just come to see us in the hospital, then we can figure it out, because there's a way we can examine the chest and then we know. A lot of you send me videos of your children, blackout videos, and just the noise of the breathing, and I can't make a decision on those kind of videos. We need to see the child. I need to see the way the nose is moving. I need to see the way the mouth is moving. I need to see the way the chest is even moving when the child is making that noise, because that is what will help me to know whether, oh, this child is having difficulty with breathing, and so this noise is a sign of respiratory distress. So this child is completely comfortable. This noise maybe something, maybe there's mucus blocking the nose or something, and nothing serious to worry about. So that is why most people, when they send me videos of just sound without any video of the picture, with the child not showing the video, there's nothing I'm going to make out of those kind of videos. It's very useless. So I always recommend that they take the child to somebody who can actually see the child, examine them, and advise appropriately. Margaret Brendan. Okay, good evening, ma. Thank you for all you do. Welcome. Please, what can be done for a 6-month-old baby who pulls immediately after each breastfeeding for a week now? Nothing needs to be done, because there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, that is something that is absolutely normal. It's completely normal for a baby to pass to after breastfeeding. We call it a exaggerated gastrocolic reflex. Some of you as adults have it. Some of us, when you finish eating, you just feel the urge to go to toilet. But as adults, you're able to control yourself, so you may not go. But it's completely normal. It's just that whenever you start eating, sometimes you feel that what we call the reflexes, they start moving down the intestine. So what the baby is passing at that time, the stool that baby is passing after finished sucking, it's not the breast milk the baby just sucked. It is the one that has been stored there in the rectum before then. So, but when baby start to suck, there's what we call peristaltic waves that are generated, and it gets down to the anus, so the baby feels the urge, and they can, if there's something already stored there, then they move the bowel. But the stool be normal stool. There's nothing, it's not hard, it's not watery, it's just normal stool. That is a completely normal physiological process. So you don't need to do anything, and you don't need to worry about it. Just keep breastfeeding the baby. There's nothing absolutely nothing is wrong with the baby. So I hope that is helpful. So that is why some babies will, the babies, so the babies, each time you feed them, they will move their bowel. So sometimes you may need to change the diaper more than 2 to 3 times, I mean 8 times a day, and that is completely normal. So you don't need to worry about it. All right. Okay, blessings, Yoma. Your questions seem to be dropping under the video, but luckily I'm able to say it. Then you say this I do hear this term allergic. Allergic. How do one know the child is allergic to certain food? Yes. Okay, so allergies, when we say somebody is allergic to things, it means um their body responds to that thing in a different way than what other people who are not allergic to. So in other words, for example, let's use a typical example of, let's say, milk, or like cow milk. So most children, you give them the milk and they are fine, nothing wrong with them, they'll be okay. But some children, every time you give them milk, or let me say egg, let's use egg, easier one. Some children, once you give them egg, they may have rashes, breakouts, they may start passing watery stool, they may start vomiting, their lips may swell up, Some children, it could be not. So it is what we call allergic. Those kind of people have an unusual reaction to certain things when they're exposed to it. It's not only food. It could be cream. You put some cream on some children's body, then they come up with rashes. Could be even soap. It could be anything really. So whatever you are allergic to, whenever you are exposed to it, and it's not only children, even adults, anybody can have allergy. Whatever you are allergic to, it means that your body is wired to respond to it in an unusual way. That is what it means. And the solution to it, because a lot of parents do ask questions about that, is to just avoid it. Okay, so just avoid whatever you are allergic to. Okay, so sometimes you are not sure, then you will see the doctors to know. Sometimes your child is reacting to something. They can come up with rashes, they are itchy, they are vomiting if it is food or passing water. They once they take that particular, you notice that when you give them other things, you'll be fine. But once you give them that particular thing, then they are going to react to it, and that is when you know that they are allergic to it. And just take it off their diet. There are ways by which we can test for allergies sometimes. Well, sometimes parents just come to us and say, oh, my child is allergic to this and that. You can see these features or symptoms of allergy in that child, but you don't know what in particular the child is allergic to. So the doctors can do certain kind of tests, and based on that test, they will know what the child is allergic to. When the child is having the acute allergy, because allergy can be mild and it can be severe enough to kill a child. I hope you've heard of people who die from granite. That's why most schools don't allow children to bring peanuts to school, because some children have peanut allergy, and even just the smell or just the oil touching them alone, they can have what we call full-blown anaphylactic reaction. They will swell up, their lips will swell up, their throat will swell up, and they can die from that. Some of those kind of children, they carry around what we call EpiPen, something that they have to, when they are beginning to have that reaction, they have to quickly give themselves that injection to reverse that allergy. That's the severe form of it. We call it anaphylaxis. But some people will just have the rashes, the itching, and then they'll be fine. So it's a spectrum. It can vary from one to the other. But one thing you notice, that once you give your child that particular thing, or once you expose your child to that particular thing, you start seeing all those symptoms every single time, then you know that child is most likely allergic to it. And what you need to do is to stop it, and then you can see your doctor. Sometimes you are not sure whether it's just a coincidence or not. Another day you can give it again and you will see the reaction may even be worse. Then you will know that, okay, this child is likely allergic to this particular food, this particular item, and just take it off completely. And unfortunately, there are some things like egg and that are milk. So children who have those kind of allergies, because those things are present in virtually almost everything you buy. So when you go to the shops and buy anything, you need to read clearly what are the nutritional facts. That is why those things are written on them, because some people have allergies to some of those items inside them. It's also one of the reasons we don't encourage you to do mixed feeding when you are introducing new food to your children. For example, when some people are introducing new food to children, they like to go for all these mixed cereals, Tom Brown and all that. It is not advisable. It is best that you give each of the item first separately. Give the pap on its own without adding granules, without adding crayfish, so just give them one after the other first, to know that your child is not allergic to them. It is when you've given the pap separately, you've given the mix separately, and the child didn't react to any of them, then you can mix it together. That is how you do it. Then you've given the egg separately, the child didn't react to it, then you can be adding it. If you don't do that, if you just go for those mixed cereals, your child may be allergic to one of the components, and the child may react to it, and you may not even know. So that is the challenge with giving those mixed cereals. And also nuts, we want you to stay away from nuts generally until the children are a little bit older. And then the first time you're going to give it, make sure you give a little bit, just a little tiny taste for them, and watch for 30 minutes. If there's no reaction, no rashes, no itching, then you can give the full meal. So those are the things you can do to figure out allergy. But if you're not sure, you can always see doctors that are specialists in allergy, and they can help. Christy on 111, I think about maybe 7 ones. I don't know. I'm not sure I understand your question about instant noodles. If you want to clarify what you mean by instant noodles, can you please clarify, then I can answer it. But so whenever you're introducing new food to your child, always give a little bit first, watch and wait and see whether there's a reaction. Even children can react to vaccines that we give them. That is why when you go for immunization, don't rush to leave the hospital. Always wait. We always tell you to wait for 30 minutes so that we can see whether the child is having any allergic reaction or not. If the child didn't react, there's no problem. But if the child reacts, the doctors and the nurses, we always have drops, steroids and things like that we can quickly give to reverse to counteract the allergic reaction. So that's what we can do. I hope that's a full blessing. At least I'm happy I was able to grab your questions from where you drop it. Okay, Instagram people, I'm not sure there's any question. I'll leave that. But thank you so much for joining us all this time. So my time is up. But if you still have any questions, like I said, feel free to go to our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is open from Mondays to Saturdays, and we're open to December now, 20. Okay, let me give you the dates so that I will give you the dates. So that we always take a break so that we all can celebrate the festivals. We want our people to enjoy family. So so we will be closing on the 20th of December, and then we'll reopen on the 5th of January, I think. So either 5th or the 12th, one of them. Anyway, so we will take the break, but in between now and 20th of December, so we still have like a month plus, less than a month. You can always post your question on our Facebook group from Mondays to Saturday, and we'll try and answer your questions. But please remember that for very ill children, we recommend that you take them to the hospital. For emergencies, we recommend you go to hospital. Anything that is affecting the airway, affecting breathing, the child is collapsing, the child is convulsing, severe burns, severe bleeding, those are medical emergencies. We don't expect you to post. We expect you to go to come and see us in the hospital. But for anything like, oh, it's my child, how many times should I feed? Should I give breast milk? How many food? How many hours? My baby have fever? What should I do? Basic everyday kind of knowledge or general questions, we're happy. But once the child is very sick, we want you to take them to the hospital for us, so that because when it comes to children, we need to see them quickly and we need to treat them quickly. And otherwise, sometimes no matter what the pediatrician can do, we may be too late. So Christy say, okay, Christy, your question is, what can 1-year-old baby be fed with fruits and instant noodles? Okay, your question is about food, complementary feeding. Yes. So I usually like to answer, I always like to give principles when I'm answering questions. So number one, you can give your child any food that you like, but you should understand the principles. So fruits, yes, you can give your child fruit, but when you're giving fruits, make sure you take away the seeds. Make sure you give it in a in a format that the child can easily take. So some of the 1-year-old, they cannot take very lumpy fruits and all that. So sometimes you may need to puree them. Sometimes you may need to cut them into tiny bits and pieces so that it'll be easy for you. You may need to take away the seeds. So otherwise, sometimes you may need to juice some of them, take out the juice and throw away the other part. So those are the things you need to do, but your children can take fruits that you want. Instant noodles, there are lots of controversies on that, depending on who you're asking. But I think the Nutrition Society of Nigeria has endorsed some of them. But what I normally recommend, number one, we don't want you to be feeding your children just instant noodles all the time. And when you want to give them noodles, please make sure you don't add all the seasoning they put in, for because it's always too much for children. So you have to use just a little bit of it and not the whole thing. And more importantly, you need to add things to those system. I mean, to the noodles, because it's more or less just carbohydrates and whatever they've mixed together, maybe from wheat and all that. But you need to now make sure you are adding like veggies. You may need to cut in carrots into them, or peas. Then you may need to put in maybe egg or chicken, so that it can be a complete meal, not just noodles. And some of us are so comfortable with those because they are instant. So 2 minutes, you finish cooking, and so we just want to be giving our children needs all the time. No, that is where we draw the line. We want you to give your children variety, so they shouldn't be on noodles 24/7 every day of the year. No, give them variety. And even the time you give them those noodles, make sure you had the veggies, you had the protein like egg and all that. Give them a drink of dairy milk or yogurt or whatever, so that it's complete. So if you go to our guide section on our Facebook group, we have a complete guide section on complementary feeding. And I want you to go watch all those videos so you learn the principles, the various food classes, and how you mix them together. What we call my plate. We want you, at least every time your child is eating, we want at least 4, not less than 4 of the 6 classes of food represented in that plate. So we want the carbohydrates, we want the protein, we want the fruits and veggies, we want the dairy, we want a little bit of fat and oil, we want, of course, water. So we want to make sure you are adding everything and not just one thing alone. But otherwise, there's no law that say you cannot give your child those things. But remember the principles. I think that's helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being with me. If you have any questions or you're just joining us, welcome. Feel free to watch the video in case I've answered your questions already. Otherwise, if your questions are not being answered, head over to Ask the Paediatrician Facebook group, post your questions there, and myself and our colleagues will answer your questions. Till I see you again next week, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And it is bye-bye from me. Bye-bye.